All right, 79. But every exordium ought either to convey an intimation of the whole matter in hand, or some introduction and support to the cause, or something of ornament and dignity. But like vestibules and approaches to houses and temples, so the introductions that we prefix to causes should be suited to the importance of the subjects. In a small and important causes, therefore, it is often more advisable to commence with the subject matter itself without any preface. But when we are to use an exordium, as will generally be the case, our matter for it may be derived either from the suitor, from the adversary, from the subject, or from those before whom we plead. From the suitor, I call all those suitors whom a suit concerns. We may deduce such particulars as characterize a worthy, generous, and unfortunate man, or one deserving of compassion, or such particulars as avail against a false accusation. From the adversary, we may deduce almost the contrary particulars from the same points. From the subject, if the matter under consideration be cruel or heinous or beyond expectation or undeserved or pitiable, or savoring of ingratitude or indignity, or unprecedented, or not admitting restitution or satisfaction. From those before whom we plead, we may draw such considerations as to procure their benevolence and good opinion, an object better attained in the course of pleading than by direct entry. This object, indeed, is to be kept in view throughout the whole oration, and especially in the conclusion. But many exordia, however, are wholly based upon it, for the Greeks recommend us to make the judge at the very commencement attentive and desirous of information, and such hints are useful, but not more proper for the exordium than for other parts. But they are indeed easier to be observed in the beginning, because the audience are then most attentive when they are in expectation of the whole affair, and they may also in the commencement be more easily informed, as the particulars stated in the outset are generally of greater perspicuity than those which are spoken by way of argument or refutation in the body of the pleading. But we shall derive the greatest abundance and variety of matter for exordia, either in conciliate or to arouse the judge, from those points in the cause which are adapted to create emotion in the mind. Yet the whole of these ought not to be brought forward in the exordium. The judge should only receive a slight impulse at the outset, so that the rest of our speech may come with full force upon him when he is already impressed in our favor. 70. Let the exordium also be so connected with the sequel of the speech that it may not appear, like a musician's prelude, to be something attached merely from imagination, but a coherent member of the whole body. For some speakers, when they have delivered their premeditated exordium, make such a transition to what is to follow that they seem positively unwilling to have an audience. But a prolusion of that kind ought not be like that of gladiators who brandish spears before the fight, of which they make no use in the encounter, but should be such that speakers may even use as weapons the thoughts which they advanced in the prelude. But as to the directions which they give to consult brevity in the narration, if it is to be called brevity where there is no word redundant, the language of Lucius Crassus is distinguished by brevity. But if that kind of brevity is intended when only just so many words are used as are absolutely necessary, such consciousness is indeed sometimes proper, but it is often prejudicial, especially in narration, not only as it produces obscurity, but also because it destroys that which is the chief excellence of narration, that it be pleasing and adapted to persuade. For instance, the narrative, for he, as soon as he became of age, etc. How long is it? The manners of the youth himself, the inquiries of the servant, the death of Chrysis, the look, figure, and affliction of the sister, and the other circumstances are told with the utmost verity and agreeableness. But if he had been studious of such brevity as this, She carried forth, we go, we reach the place of sepulture, she laid upon the pile. He might have comprised the whole in 10 lines, although she carried forth, we go is only so far concise as to consult not absolute brevity, but elegance. For if there had been nothing expressed but she laid upon the pile, the whole matter would have been easily comprehended. But a narration referring to various characters and intersected by dialogue affords much gratification, and that becomes more probable which you report to have been done when you describe the manner in which it was done, and it is much more clearly understood if you sometimes pause for that purpose and do not hurry over it with affected brevity. For the narrative parts of a speech, as well as the other parts, ought to be perspicuous, and we ought to take the more pains with that part because it is more difficult not to be obscure in stating a case than either in the exordium, in argumentation, in refuting of an accusation, or in the peroration. And obscurity in this part of a speech is attended with greater danger than in other parts, both because if anything be obscurely expressed in any other part, only that is lost which is so expressed. But obscurity in the narrative part spreads darkness over the whole speech, and because as to other parts, if you have expressed anything obscurely in one place, you may explain it more clearly in another, while for the narrative part of a speech there is but one place. But your narrative will be clear if it be given in ordinary language, with adherence to the order of time and without interruption.